Hi chaps, MOP here from Beard, Biceps and Batchat. Today I'm bringing you some gameplay in the Fatherland on Prokhorovka. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So it took me about 3 days probably. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today being Sunday morning to get all 5 medals. I know there's been a bit of controversy on how the medals are dropping. Some people are playing hundreds of games and not getting the tank. Other people are playing 21 games, sorry, and getting the tank. So there's a lot of frustration. From the way I did it, nothing particularly special, just played tanks, completed my grind to the T62A, and just overtrained the crew so they didn't start at 75%. So it wasn't overly painful. I wasn't particularly just grinding for the tank, I just thought I'd finish off some Soviet grinds that I had to do anyway. One thing to notice with the tank on my setup is I have Lend-Lease soil on it. The reason for that is just the horsepower on the IS-3A it just makes it a very unmobile tank. So I like to make sure it's got a little bit of a boost. The crew's got off-road driving to help with the train resistance. So just to make that a bit more mobile, a bit more agile. So what we're doing here is we're being a bit of a bully. It's a tier 8 game. And what I've done is gone right to the middle ridge of the map. Now the reason is, generally speaking, no one particularly pushes over this ridge towards you. If they do, it's usually a little bit suicidal if they do. So I'm just trying to, if they do look to push it, just trying to discourage them with a tank with a very, very nasty gun and hit them for 400 or 500 damage. And it also helps being in the middle here is that, again, I speak about this quite a lot, you have a bigger area of effectiveness. So I can help the tanks on the 1-2 line, I can help any tanks that are being attacked by the Reds pushing down the 6-7 line. I can't quite get shots onto the hill, but you can have everything. So what we're doing here is just peeking over. If anything can hit me, I'm relying really heavily on my pipe nose here just to sort of either absorb the shots or just completely bounce them. And what I want to be doing is just putting shots into that Legion just to make sure he doesn't get too excited and try and push over. I'm not too particularly worried about him, as this KV5 here is about to go on a massive YOLO run, so I'm more worried about the T32, the KV5. So as this op requires you to get 500 damage, this KV5 obviously just lost patience and decided he's just going to YOLO, get his 500 damage, back to the garage, next tank. So I'm going to help him along the way, just put a couple of shots into him to try and slow him down. I'm not trying to stop him getting his 500 damage, but I may as well farm off him. A couple of people have been playing this up this way, just getting 500 damage, dying, going straight back to the garage. I thought it's a very expensive way to get this tank, especially as it's luck based, so I've tried to avoid that approach as much as possible. So we're just going to help out this T32, put him out of his misery, put a shot into him. There we go, that's first kill of the game. Now the other thing you probably want to notice here is that light tank. He's very rarely pushing to the top of the ridge, and that's because of my position. Again, he can't particularly risk losing 3/4 of his health to me slamming a shell into him. So he's not able to fully spot the guys we've got camping our flag, the heavy we've got there protecting the base in case they do push over. Now, I've just fast forwarded it a bit before I've come back to the commentary, and I've noticed this is probably my least mobile game ever. Literally, this little 50-meter area I'm in is what I'm going to call my danger zone. Anyone comes in this area, I'm taking them out. I'm being very protective of this area at the moment, just to make sure no one can push our ridge and get a look into our tanks camping our flag. So at the minute we've got 11 spotting hits, which is probably fairly unusual for an IS-3. You'd more likely to see that in a scout. We've got 4 pens, we've got 1 kill, and we've got a very adventurous ISU-152. So we just put a shot into him, repair our gun. He's doing the same thing I'm doing, but slightly less aggressively. He's going to just be making sure I don't push over the ridge, but I have no intention of doing that. I can still take shots at this Legion. I'm going to get a potential couple of shots in on that scout if he becomes a little bit careless. Also, I'm pretty confident they've got a couple of guys camping around B12, so I can hit them from here, So all I need to do is just wait for that Legion to be destroyed and our guys to push up the 1-2 line. Let's see if I help them out here. Yeah, that's not bad. It's one thing to note with this tank. This is my first game with it. It took me a little while to get used to the velocity. So I've got the IS-3, and I'm quite used to leading with that gun. By that I mean aiming a little bit ahead of where the enemy tank is moving to and getting a shot in. So it fires quite quickly, this tank. So you have to really allow for it. The speed of the shell is, I think, 1500 meters a second. So it's very quick, and if you're not ready for it, you'll end up missing your lead shot. So I missed one from the KV-5. I was okay on the Legion, I'd adjusted for it, but it can be a little bit of a nightmare. See, there we go again, lost another lead shot. The rest of the guys on the team are pushing up the 9-0 line, dealing with the heavy and 2 mediums there. Again, there's still no need for me to really push. Although I suspect where the enemy tanks are, if I push too aggressively, I'm going to get caught in a crossfire. It's going to obliterate me, and this will be a very short replay, and you won't see any sort of merits to get in the tank. Now at this point, I'm probably considering pushing over the ridge. I'm probably a little bit bored waiting for something to happen, and then I notice this little cheeky chap who has been an absolute nightmare to our 2 mediums who are trying to deal with him. The champion's going to really struggle to get through his armour, so a Motherland is an absolute nightmare in a tier 8 game. If it's top tier, you can effectively play it like a heavy. So I'm very cautious of it, that even though I've got one shot into him, he can very effectively deal with those 2 mediums without worrying too much. So that's a slight concern. I've obviously decided it's time for the scout to die. What I'm going to look to do when I do push is use that rock as hard cover. That's going to protect me from at least a crossfire from one side or the other. It's at the point in the game I don't need to be overly cautious anymore. I know where the team is. I know they're all camping C2 and D2, so I can literally push over the ridge, let the light go, and make a beeline for this 152 who's been trying to pin me in place. There we go, he's done. 3rd kill achieved. So we're just going to keep pushing. I'm not going to get shots in here probably before they die, so I'll just be grateful for the spotted damage on this one, I think. We're literally just weighing up. Do we go for the Tiger one, who's seen me, probably hates my guts. He's thinking, how's this lad got the Fatherland and I haven't yet? So puts a spiteful premium shell into the front of me. And I'm just trying to get this little scout who's been annoying me all game, and we get him at the very end. Overall, it was, again, a very unmobile game. Lots of spot and damage, 4 kills, 10 pens, and we'll just have to see how we do at the end. 94,000 coins, that's not bad. 5,600 damage, just shy of 6,000 combined damage. Overall, it's not a bad tank. It's a good tank. It's just an absolute nightmare getting it. Let me know how you've got it, guys, and please like and subscribe.